"This ranch was stolen from us," Amanda declared, her voice cutting through the New Year's Eve celebration. "And now it's time for you to leave, Sarah." I stood in our family ranch's kitchen, still holding the champagne bottle I'd been about to open. The countdown to midnight was minutes away, but my sister had chosen this moment to drop her bomb. "What are you talking about?" I asked, setting down the bottle carefully. Around us, the party guests, mostly local ranchers and their families, fell silent. Amanda pulled out a folder, her designer clothes looking oddly out of place in our rustic kitchen. "I found Grandfather's original will. He meant to leave Silver Creek Ranch to all of us, not just you. You manipulated him during his final days." I felt my chest tighten but kept my voice steady. "I did no such thing. Grandfather left me the ranch because I was the only one who cared about it. Where were you when he needed help managing it during his last years?" "Getting my business degree," she shot back. "Unlike you, playing in the dirt with your precious soil samples and research projects." Those dirt samples were part of my agricultural research, studying sustainable farming methods that could revolutionize ranching in our drought-prone region. But Amanda had always dismissed my work, just like she dismissed the ranch itself until she realized its value. Our parents watched from the corner, their faces troubled. They'd moved to Arizona years ago, leaving Grandfather and me to manage Silver Creek. Now they seemed unsure whose side to take. "Show me this supposed will," I said, reaching for the folder. Amanda smirked, pulling it back. "Our lawyers will handle that. They've already filed the paperwork to contest Grandfather's final will. You have 30 days to vacate." The grandfather clock in the hall began to chime, announcing the approach of midnight. Guests shifted uncomfortably, some quietly gathering their coats. "You've never understood what this place means," I said, my voice low but firm. "It's not just land to be bought and sold. It's a legacy, a living laboratory. My research here could help ranchers across the state." "Oh, please," Amanda rolled her eyes. "You little science experiments. I have developers interested in this property. Do you know what this land is worth?" "I know exactly what it's worth," I replied. "That's why Grandfather trusted me with it." The truth was more complicated than either of us knew. Grandfather had spent his final years working with me on something bigger than Amanda's development plans, bigger than even my agricultural research. But I kept his secret, just as I promised. "Ladies," our father stepped forward, ever the peacemaker. "It's New Year's Eve. Can't this wait?" "No, Dad, it can't." Amanda thrust the folder at him. "Read it yourself. The will Sarah submitted wasn't the real one. Grandfather wrote another version 3 months before he died." I watched my father open the folder, his hands trembling slightly. The documents inside looked official, but something felt off. Grandfather had been clear about his wishes, crystal clear. "There's something you should know," I started, but Amanda cut me off. "Save it. The lawyers say it's airtight. Your little reign over Silver Creek is over, sister dear." The clock struck midnight, but nobody cheered. No champagne corks popped. Instead, our guests began quietly filing out, leaving the family to our battle. As the door closed behind the last guest, I walked to Grandfather's old desk in the study. Amanda followed, probably expecting me to break down or beg. Instead, I pulled out my laptop and opened a file. "Remember all those soil samples you mocked?" I asked, typing in a password. "They weren't just for agricultural research." Amanda frowned. "What are you talking about?" "Grandfather and I weren't just studying farming methods. We were documenting something he discovered decades ago, something that makes this land worth far more than any developer could offer." My sister's face changed, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her features. "You're bluffing." "The lab results arrive next week," I said calmly. "Maybe you should wait to file those papers until after you see them." As Amanda stormed out, our parents lingering uncertainly in the doorway, I sat in Grandfather's old chair and opened the sealed letter he'd left me. Inside was the truth about Silver Creek Ranch, a truth that would change everything once the lab confirmed what we found in those soil samples. The real fight for Silver Creek was just beginning. The lab results arrived exactly 1 week after Amanda's New Year's Eve announcement. I sat in Grandfather's study, the sealed envelope heavy in my hands, while my phone buzzed with texts from Amanda's lawyers demanding access to the ranch's financial records. "Just open it," my best friend Maya urged. She'd driven 3 hours from her veterinary practice to support me through this. "Whatever's in there, we'll figure it out." I took a deep breath and broke the seal. As I read, my hands began to shake. Sarah? Maya leaned forward. What is it? He was right, I whispered. Grandfather was right all along. The soil samples we'd spent 2 years collecting and analyzing contained traces of rare earth elements, crucial components in manufacturing everything from smartphones to electric vehicles. But what made our discovery unique was the concentration and purity levels, far higher than any commercial mining operation had found in the region. Grandfather had suspected this decades ago when he noticed unusual mineral formations while digging wells. Instead of alerting mining companies, he kept it quiet, knowing they would destroy the ranch's delicate ecosystem. He'd waited for someone who would understand the true value of the land, not just what could be extracted from it. My phone buzzed again. Amanda. The lawyers need access to the property for assessment. Stop being difficult. I showed Maya the text. She still thinks this is about real estate development. When are you going to tell her? Before I could answer, a truck roared up the driveway. Through the window, I watched Amanda step out, followed by 2 men in suits. Looks like Big Sister's done waiting, Maya muttered. I gathered the lab reports and tucked them into Grandfather's safe just as Amanda burst in. This is Mr. Reynolds and Mr. Chen, she announced. They represent the development group interested in the property. They need to survey the land. I stood slowly. No. You don't have a choice, Amanda snapped. The will contest is in process. You can't make unilateral decisions anymore. Actually, I can, I replied. I'm still the legal owner, and more importantly, I have evidence that Grandfather's new will might not be what you think it is. The developers exchanged glances. Good, let them worry. What evidence? Amanda demanded. I pulled out my phone and played a video, the last one Grandfather had recorded. In it, he sat in this very study, his voice weak but clear. Sarah, if you're watching this, someone's probably contested my decision to leave you Silver Creek. Likely your sister. She never could stand not getting her way. He chuckled weakly. But I chose you for a reason. You understand that this land is more than just acres to be sold. The samples we've been collecting, you'll know what to do when the results come in. Don't let anyone bully you into selling. Not developers, not mining companies, and certainly not your sister. Amanda's face had gone pale. When was this recorded? 2 days before he died, I said quietly. The same day he supposedly signed your mysterious new will. The developers were already backing toward the door, sensing that this wasn't the simple land grab they'd been promised. We'll need to reassess our position, Mr. Reynolds muttered. Ms. Amanda, we'll be in touch. After they left, Amanda rounded on me. What samples? What was he talking about? I studied my sister, seeing past her anger to something else. Fear. Fear that she'd miscalculated, that her perfect plan was unraveling. Remember when we were kids, I said slowly, and Grandfather used to tell us Silver Creek had magic in its soil. That wasn't just a bedtime story. Don't be ridiculous. The magic he meant was scientific. This ranch sits on one of the richest deposits of rare earth elements ever discovered in North America. That's what those soil samples were about. That's why he spent his last years teaching me about the land, about responsible stewardship. Amanda sank into a chair, her bravado cracking. You're lying. The lab results came today. Would you like to see them? She shook her head, looking lost. If what you're saying is true, we could make millions. That's not what this is about, I said firmly. Grandfather didn't keep this secret for decades just to have the land stripped bare by mining companies. He wanted it preserved, studied, used responsibly. That's why he chose me. But I'm your sister, she whispered. Doesn't that count for anything? I looked at her, remembering the little girl who used to follow me around the ranch before ambition and greed had changed her. It counts for everything. That's why I'm offering you a choice. She looked up, suspicious but listening. We can keep fighting, waste money on lawyers, drag the family through court. Or you can tear up that fake will. Don't deny it. We both know that's what it is, and we can work together. Not to sell the land, but to protect it while finding ethical ways to use its resources. Maya, who'd been quietly watching, spoke up. The veterinary school would love to partner on research projects. This could be revolutionary. Amanda was quiet for a long moment. Outside, the winter sun was setting over Silver Creek's rolling hills, painting the sky in colors that had captivated our family for generations. I need time to think, she finally said, standing up. Take all the time you need, I replied. The ranch isn't going anywhere. A month after the lab results arrived, I stood at Silver Creek's highest point, watching the sunrise paint the sky. The morning air was crisp, carrying the promise of early spring. Behind me, I heard footsteps approaching. Still doing your morning ritual? Amanda's voice was different now, softer, more like the sister I remembered from childhood. Some things never change, I replied, turning to face her. After our confrontation, Amanda had disappeared for 2 weeks. No calls, no legal threats, just silence. When she finally returned, she brought not lawyers but a stack of research about sustainable mining practices and environmental conservation. I've been thinking, she said, joining me at the fence, about what grandfather used to tell us, that being a good steward means thinking 7 generations ahead. I nodded, remembering his wisdom. He'd be proud to hear you say that. The development company called again yesterday, she continued, offered to triple their bid. And a small smile played at her lips. I told them Silver Creek wasn't for sale. At any price. The weight that had been sitting on my chest for weeks finally lifted. Welcome home, sis. We stood in comfortable silence, watching the ranch come alive. In the distance, Maya's truck kicked up dust as she arrived for our morning research session. Since the discovery, we partnered with her veterinary school and a state university's agricultural department to study how to extract the rare earth elements without damaging the ecosystem. You know, Amanda said, my business degree might actually be useful here. We'll need someone to manage the partnerships, handle the contracts. Are you offering? Maybe, if my sister's willing to trust me again. I turned to study her face, seeing real regret there. The fake will was stupid and desperate, she finished. I found a lawyer who specialized in contesting inheritances. He drew it up, made it look legitimate. I was so angry that grandfather had chosen you. I didn't stop to ask why. And now? Now I understand. You never saw Silver Creek as something to profit from. You saw it the way he did, as a legacy to protect. Maya pulled up, waving from her truck. Behind her came 2 more vehicles. The university research team, ready for another day of soil analysis and environmental impact studies. We're doing this right, I said firmly. No open pit mining, no destructive extraction methods. We find a way to access the resources while preserving the ranch, or we don't do it at all. Amanda nodded. I've been researching new technologies in sustainable mining. There's a company in Sweden. She launched into an explanation of innovative extraction methods, her business acumen now focused on preservation rather than profit. I listened, smiling at her enthusiasm. Later that afternoon, we sat in grandfather's study, reviewing proposals from research institutions eager to partner with Silver Creek. The old desk was covered with papers, environmental impact studies, conservation plans, sustainable agriculture proposals. Look what I found, Amanda said suddenly, pulling an old photo from between some files. It showed us as children, sitting on the porch with grandfather. She was holding a jar of soil, and I was clutching my first microscope, his gift for my 10th birthday. He knew even then, I said softly. He was preparing us both. My love for the science, your head for business. He was hoping we find a way to work together. Better late than never, she offered tentatively. Better late than never, I agreed. Maya poked her head in. Preliminary results from the North Pasture are in. You both need to see this. We followed her to the makeshift lab we'd set up in the old barn. The research team was gathered around a computer, excitement visible on their faces. The soil composition here isn't just rare, the lead scientist explained, pointing to the data. It's unique. The way these elements have combined, we could be looking at new extraction methods that could revolutionize the entire industry. Amanda grabbed my hand, squeezing it like she used to when we were kids sharing a secret. Grandfather really did have magic in his soil. Speaking of grandfather, I said, there's something else he left. Something I've been waiting to show you. I led them back to the study and opened his safe. Inside was one final letter, addressed to both of us. My dearest granddaughters, it read, if you're reading this together, then Silver Creek's greatest treasure has done its work. Not the minerals in the soil, though those are precious enough. The real treasure was always the legacy of 2 sisters learning to be stewards together. Take care of the land, and it will take care of you. Take care of each other, and you'll never fail. Outside, the sun was setting on Silver Creek Ranch. But for the sisters who now shared its legacy, a new day was just beginning. "Sorry, but your daughter's medical equipment would make others uncomfortable at Thanksgiving," my mother-in-law, Patricia, said over the phone. Her voice dripped with fake concern. "You understand, right? We want everything to be perfect this year with the investors coming." I glanced at my 7-year-old daughter, Emma, who was drawing peacefully at her small table, her portable oxygen concentrator humming quietly beside her. The same equipment that had kept her alive since her premature birth was now apparently an eyesore to Patricia's social climbing ambitions. "Perfect," I repeated, my voice steady despite the anger building inside me. "And by perfect, you mean pretending Emma doesn't exist." "Don't be dramatic, Olivia," Patricia sighed. "Of course, we love Emma. It's just, appearances matter. Michael's potential investors will be there with their families. We can't have them distracted by medical equipment during dinner." I watched Emma adding careful strokes of purple to her drawing, her dark curls falling over her face as she concentrated. She was the spitting image of her grandmother Elizabeth, Patricia's mother-in-law, who had passed away just 3 months ago. The same determined chin, the same creative spirit. "What does James say about this?" I asked, thinking of my husband, who was currently away on a business trip. James agrees completely," Patricia said quickly. "He understands how important this dinner is for the family business." I doubted that. James had always stood up for Emma, had always put her first. But lately, with the pressure of taking over his father's company, he'd been more distant, more willing to give in to his mother's demands. "I'll talk to James about it myself," I said firmly. "Don't bother him with this, dear. He's so busy with the merger." Patricia's voice took on that condescending tone I'd grown to hate. "Just stay home with Emma. Have your own little celebration. It's probably better for her anyway, less overwhelming." After hanging up, I sat at my desk, hands shaking with suppressed rage. 6 years of dealing with Patricia's subtle exclusions, her backhanded comments, her constant attempts to hide Emma from her social circle. But this was different. This was blatant rejection. My phone buzzed with a text from James. "Mom told me about Thanksgiving. Maybe she's right this time. Emma gets tired at big gatherings anyway. We can celebrate together when I'm back." I stared at the message, feeling something break inside me. This wasn't the man I'd married, the one who'd spent countless nights in the NICU with me, who'd learned every detail of Emma's medical care without complaint. "Mommy, look." Emma's voice pulled me from my thoughts. She held up her drawing, a family of bears having a picnic. "It's us having Thanksgiving." I smiled, fighting back tears. "It's beautiful, sweetheart." What Emma didn't know was that I'd spent the morning with Elizabeth's lawyer, Mr. Sullivan. 2 weeks before her death, Elizabeth had called me to her house while Emma was at school. "Patricia's showing her true colors more and more," Elizabeth had said, her voice weak but her eyes sharp as ever. "James is too blind to see it, too caught up in becoming his father. But I see everything." She handed me a thick envelope. "Give this to Sullivan after I'm gone. And Olivia, when the time comes, don't let them know you were prepared." That envelope contained documents that would shake Patricia's perfect world to its foundations. Elizabeth, it turned out, had owned the majority shares in the family company, shares that everyone assumed would go to James. She'd also owned the sprawling family estate where Patricia held court, hosting her precious social events. Mr. Sullivan had confirmed it all this morning. "Everything's in order," he'd said, just as Elizabeth planned. The reading of the will is scheduled for the day after Thanksgiving. I looked at Emma, still absorbed in her drawing, blissfully unaware of the family drama swirling around her. Patricia thought she was orchestrating the perfect Thanksgiving, impressing investors with her carefully curated family image. She had no idea that her perfectly planned dinner would be one of her last in that house. My phone buzzed again. Another text from James. "Mom's really stressed about the investors. Let's not make waves right now." I didn't respond. Instead, I walked over to Emma and knelt beside her table. "How about we plan our own special Thanksgiving, just you and me?" Her face lit up. "Can we have pizza?" "We can have anything you want," I promised, pulling her into a gentle hug, careful not to disturb her oxygen line. Over her shoulder, I caught sight of Patricia's latest social media post, preparing for the perfect family Thanksgiving. "Grateful for our beautiful, healthy family. #blessed." I smiled, thinking of the documents in Mr. Sullivan's office. Sometimes, the best response to cruelty isn't immediate confrontation, it's patience. Patricia would learn that lesson soon enough. Emma pulled back from the hug, her eyes serious. Will Daddy be sad he missed our pizza Thanksgiving? I think, I said carefully. Daddy will have a lot to think about after this Thanksgiving. As Emma returned to her drawing, I started making plans. Patricia wanted her perfect holiday. Fine, let her have it. But by the time the leftovers were packed away, she'd learned what really matters in a family, and it isn't appearances. The day before Thanksgiving, Patricia's social media went into overdrive. Photos of the elaborately decorated dining room, the professional catering setup, and her designer table settings flooded my feed. Each post tagged the visiting investors and their families, along with captions about family traditions and generational wealth. I muted her account and focused on Emma, who was helping me knead dough for our homemade pizza. Her oxygen tube occasionally got dusted with flour, making her giggle. These were the real family moments, messy, imperfect, and full of love. Mrs. Bennet? Emma asked, referring to her favorite teacher. She said we're having a gratitude circle at school today. Can we do one too? Of course, sweetheart. I wiped flour from her cheek. What are you grateful for? My pizza chef mommy, she grinned, and Grandma Elizabeth's special paint set. My heart tightened. Elizabeth had given Emma that professional art set just weeks before she passed, along with hours of patient instruction. Patricia had called it a waste, saying Emma's medical issues would prevent her from pursuing anything artistic. My phone buzzed. James again. Mom's really outdone herself this year. The house looks amazing. The Hendersons are impressed already. I typed back, how's the merger looking? Good, Mr. Henderson's practically guaranteed his investment. Mom was right about keeping things streamlined tomorrow. Streamlined, like his daughter's medical equipment was just an inconvenient business obstacle. That evening, as Emma slept peacefully in her room, her oxygen concentrator humming a steady rhythm, I received an unexpected visit. Sarah, James's younger sister, knocked on my door, looking troubled. I just came from Mom's pre-Thanksgiving prep, she said, settling on my couch. It's like a circus over there. But Olivia, the thing she's saying about Emma. Let me guess, she's pretending she doesn't have a granddaughter. Sarah nodded, tears in her eyes. She told the Hendersons that James has no children yet. She's hidden all the family photos with Emma. When I confronted her, she said it was just business and that I wouldn't understand since I'm not a mother. I thought of Elizabeth's words, Patricia's showing her true colors. There's something else, Sarah continued. Mom's been bragging about inheriting Elizabeth's shares in the company. She's already promised Mr. Henderson a seat on the board once everything's settled. I kept my face neutral, though inside I was laughing at Patricia's presumption. That's interesting. I can't believe James is going along with this. The brother I grew up with would never. People change, I said quietly, or maybe they just show who they really are. After Sarah left, I checked on Emma again. Her room walls were covered with her artwork, bright, vibrant pieces that Elizabeth had insisted on framing properly. Talent should be displayed, she'd said, giving Patricia a pointed look. My phone chimed with a message from Mr. Sullivan. Everything's prepared for Friday. Elizabeth would be proud of how you're handling this. I smiled, remembering my last conversation with Elizabeth. She'd been sitting in her favorite armchair, watching Emma paint. You know why Patricia hates the medical equipment so much? She'd asked. It's not about appearances, it's about control. She can't control Emma's condition, can't make it fit her perfect narrative. And she hates anything she can't control. Looking at Emma now, peaceful in her sleep, I thought about control. Patricia was certainly in her element, orchestrating her perfect Thanksgiving, positioning her pieces on the social chessboard. She had no idea she was playing a game that had been decided months ago. Another notification popped up, Patricia's latest post. Final touches on our perfect family gathering. So blessed to be carrying on Elizabeth's legacy of elegant entertaining. #family tradition, #blessed. Attached was a photo of Elizabeth's antique china cabinet, now stripped of the children's artwork she'd always displayed there. Emma's latest painting, the one Elizabeth had proudly placed front and center, was gone, replaced by crystal wine glasses. My phone buzzed again. James, Mom's outdone herself. The investors are impressed. You understand why tomorrow needs to be perfect, right? I looked at my sleeping daughter, then at the legal documents Mr. Sullivan had given me. Perfect is relative, I thought. And tomorrow will certainly be memorable, just not in the way Patricia expects. As I turned out the lights, I caught sight of one last social media update. Patricia, resplendent in her designer dress, raising a toast with the investors, grateful for family values and tradition. Tomorrow will be a celebration of our legacy. Legacy. If only she knew what Elizabeth's real legacy would be. Thanksgiving Day arrived with a flood of social media posts from Patricia's perfectly orchestrated dinner. Photos of elegant place settings, guests in formal attire, and carefully curated family moments filled my feed. Meanwhile, Emma and I spent our day making pizza, painting, and having our own gratitude circle. Then my phone lit up with an unexpected text from Mr. Sullivan. News from the dinner. You might want to check Patricia's latest post. I opened Instagram to find a live video of Patricia, clearly tipsy from wine, making an announcement to her guests. We're so blessed to announce that, with Elizabeth's shares being transferred to James next week, the Henderson merger is officially happening. A new chapter for our family legacy. In the background, I could see James nodding, raising his glass with Mr. Henderson. The comments section was flooded with congratulations and heart emojis. Mommy, can we call Grandma Elizabeth's lawyer now? Emma asked, surprising me. She told me to remind you when Grandma Pat made her big announcement. I stared at my daughter. Grandma Elizabeth talked to you about this. Emma nodded solemnly. She said sometimes grown-ups forget what's important and that you would know when to make a call. Fighting back tears, I dialed Mr. Sullivan. Within minutes, Patricia's perfect dinner was interrupted by his arrival at the estate. I waited, watching through the still-running live stream as he entered the dining room, briefcase in hand. I apologize for interrupting. His voice came through clearly in the video. But as Elizabeth Mitchell's executor, I'm legally obligated to correct some misinformation about tomorrow's will reading. The camera shook as Patricia tried to stop the recording, but someone, probably Sarah, kept it running. The company's shares and estate will not be transferred to James, Mr. Sullivan continued. Elizabeth's final wishes were quite specific. Everything has been left in trust to her great-granddaughter, Emma, with Olivia as trustee until Emma turns 25. The silence was deafening. Then Patricia's voice, shrill with disbelief. That's impossible. Emma's just a child. She can't. She's not even. Additionally, Mr. Sullivan added, Elizabeth left specific instructions that the estate must be made fully accessible for medical equipment and that the trust includes funds for an art therapy program for children with medical needs, to be run from the property. The live stream ended abruptly, but the damage was done. Hundreds had watched Patricia's perfect world crumble in real time. My phone exploded with messages. James first. Did you know about this? Why didn't you say anything? Then Patricia. You planned this? You turned Elizabeth against us. Finally, Sarah. OMG, Mom's having a meltdown. The Hendersons just left. This is better than reality TV. I turned off my phone and looked at Emma, who was adding the final touches to a new painting. Grandma Elizabeth said sometimes the best medicine is letting people learn their own lessons, she said wisely. The next morning, as we headed to Mr. Sullivan's office for the official will reading, I thought about Elizabeth's final gift. It wasn't just the shares or the estate. It was the lesson she taught both Emma and me, that true family sees past the surface, past the equipment and imperfections, to the heart of what matters. Patricia and James were already there, looking shell-shocked. As Mr. Sullivan read the full terms of the will, including Elizabeth's personal letter explaining her decision, I watched their perfect facade finally crack. I leave my legacy, Elizabeth had written, not to those who chase perfection, but to those who embrace life in all its beautiful imperfection. Emma and Olivia understand what Patricia never could, that love isn't about appearances, it's about acceptance. As we left the office, Emma squeezed my hand. Can we have pizza for dinner again? I smiled, thinking of Patricia's elegant Thanksgiving feast. Absolutely. Perfect isn't always what it seems, is it? Nope, Emma agreed. Perfect is just being us. And that, I realized, was Elizabeth's real legacy, teaching us that sometimes the most perfect moments are the ones that would never make it to Patricia's Instagram feed. I stared at my phone in disbelief as the hotel manager's words sank in. Mrs. Foster, we found your children alone in the room. Your sister is nowhere to be found, and there's evidence of alcohol and other concerning items in the adjoining room. My name is Olivia Foster, and I'm a 34-year-old emergency room nurse. Just 12 hours ago, I've been called in for an urgent surgery case, leaving my 3 kids, Jake 11, Emma 9, and Lucy 7, in the care of my stepsister, Madison. We were supposed to be enjoying our first real vacation in 2 years at the Ocean View Resort in Miami, but a critical trauma case meant I had to scrub in. I can watch them, Madison had insisted, flipping her perfectly styled hair. We'll have a movie night, order room service. It'll be fun. You go save lives, sis. I'd hesitated. Madison was 24 and more interested in her social media following than actual responsibility. But I had no choice. The hospital needed me, and Madison was family. Your children are safe now, the manager continued, his voice professional but concerned. Security found them when other guests reported noise from the room around midnight. Your oldest, Jake, had apparently been trying to calm his sisters, who were frightened by some rowdy partygoers attempting to enter through the connecting door. My hands gripped the hospital break room table, surgical gloves still dangling from my scrub pocket. I'm leaving right now. Please keep them safe. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I ended the call and immediately dialed Madison. Straight to voicemail, of course. As I rushed to my car, my phone buzzed with a new Instagram notification. My blood ran cold as I saw Madison's latest story. She was dancing on the beach, drink in hand, surrounded by strangers. The timestamp showed it was from just 30 minutes ago. The drive to the hotel was a blur of rage and worry. How could she? I trusted her with my children, the most precious people in my life, and she'd abandoned them to party with strangers. The connecting door detail particularly disturbed me. Had her new friends tried to enter my children's room? I pulled into the hotel parking lot with squealing tires, not even bothering to park properly. The lobby was quiet at this late hour, but the night manager immediately recognized me and led me to the security office. My heart clenched when I saw my 3 children huddled together on a small sofa. "Mommy," Lucy cried, launching herself into my arms. Emma followed quickly, while Jake tried to maintain his preteen composure, but couldn't hide his relief. I held them close, breathing in their familiar scents, fighting back tears. "Mrs. Foster," the security chief stepped forward, his expression grave. "We need—" Madison rolled her eyes, pulling out her phone. "Look how many followers I got tonight. The kids were safe. They had TV and room service. You're just jealous because you never know how to have fun. Always so serious, so boring." "Ma'am," the security chief interrupted, "please step back. We've already contacted the police, and—" "The police?" Madison's face paled slightly. "For what?" "They're not hurt. Olivia, tell them it's fine. Daddy will be so mad if I get arrested." I looked at her, really looked at her. This woman who joined our family when I was 15, who'd always been spoiled and indulged by her father, my stepfather, who'd never faced consequences for her actions, would put my children in danger without a second thought. "Not Madison," I said firmly. "I won't tell them it's fine, because it's not fine. None of this is fine." The next few hours were a blur of police statements and child welfare interviews. I sat with my kids in a private conference room the hotel had provided, trying to keep them calm while answering questions about Madison's guardianship status and the events of the night. "Ms. Foster," Officer Martinez said, reviewing her notes, "the substances found in the adjoining room are concerning. Your sister gave her key to several individuals she met on the beach. All of them fled when security arrived. Given the proximity to your children's room—" I closed my eyes, fighting another wave of nausea. The connecting door had been the only barrier between my children and a group of intoxicated strangers. If Jake hadn't been quick thinking enough to barricade it, my phone buzzed continuously, my stepfather, Robert, alternating between threats and pleas. "You're overreacting. Madison is young. She made a mistake. If you press charges, you'll destroy her future." I silenced the phone, focusing instead on Lucy, who had finally fallen asleep in my lap. Emma was curled up next to me, while Jake sat protectively on my other side, still trying to be brave. A gentle knock at the door introduced another officer. "Mrs. Foster, we've completed Ms. Madison's booking. She's being charged with child endangerment and possession. Given the circumstances, the judge has agreed to process her tonight." Madison's high-pitched wailing echoed down the hallway. This is ridiculous. They're not even hurt. Olivia, tell them. Tell them I'm a good aunt. Daddy will be so mad at you for this. I stroked Lucy's hair, remembering how she used to adore Madison, how she'd beg her aunt to play dress-up or tea parties. Madison would always make excuses. She was too busy, too tired, had plans with friends. Yet she'd expected instant forgiveness when she needed a babysitter to maintain her social media presence. The hotel manager approached with paperwork in hand. Mrs. Foster, we've comped your entire stay and arranged a new room on a different floor. We're deeply sorry for this incident. He hesitated. We've also banned Ms. Madison and her associates from the property permanently. Jake spoke up, his voice small but steady. Mom, can we go home? I don't want to stay here anymore. Before I could respond, Robert burst into the room, his face red with anger. What have you done? He demanded. Madison's sobbing in a jail cell. She could lose her influencer contracts over this. After everything we've done for you. I stood carefully, passing Lucy to Jake. Everything you've done for me? My voice was ice. Like what, Robert? Like when Madison ruined my graduation party because she was having a rough day? Or when she borrowed my car and crashed it, and you made me pay for the repairs? She endangered my children. They're fine, he shouted, gesturing wildly. Kids are resilient. Madison just wanted one night of fun. Mr. Foster, Officer Martinez stepped forward. Please lower your voice. We have witness statements from hotel guests who heard your daughter giving her room key to unknown individuals, explicitly stating, my boring sister's kids are next door, but they won't bother us. Robert's face paled slightly. She was drunk. She didn't mean. She left 3 minors alone for hours, the officer continued. She gave strangers access to a connecting room. We found evidence of illegal substances. This isn't about one night of fun, sir. This is about criminal endangerment. Emma stirred, looking up at her grandfather with confusion. Why aren't you mad at Aunt Madison? She left us alone. Those people were scary. Robert deflated slightly, finally seeming to realize the gravity of the situation. Olivia, please, she's your sister. We can work this out privately, as a family. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. She's not my sister, Robert. She's your daughter, whom you've let get away with everything her entire life. But this time she went too far. She put my children in danger, and she's going to face the consequences. The bail hearing is tomorrow morning, Officer Martinez added. Given the circumstances, I'll pay whatever it takes. Robert interrupted. Just drop the charges. Please, Olivia. Think about what this will do to her social media career. I looked at my children, Jake holding Lucy protectively, Emma pressed against my side. I thought about what could have happened if Jake hadn't been so quick thinking, if the hotel security hadn't responded so quickly. No, I said firmly. I won't drop the charges. Madison needs to learn that her actions have consequences. My children's safety matters more than her follower count. Robert's face hardened. You'll regret this. I'll make sure of it. Are you threatening me? I asked calmly. In front of police officers, while I'm holding my children who were just endangered by your daughter. He stormed out, already dialing his phone, presumably calling his lawyer. I turned to Officer Martinez. What happens now? The DA will likely offer a plea deal, she explained. Given Ms. Madison's lack of prior record, she's looking at probation, mandatory counseling, and community service. But she'll have a record, and the child endangerment charge will impact her ability to work with brands that target families. I finished. Good. Maybe she'll finally learn something. The hotel manager stepped forward again. Mrs. Foster, we've arranged transportation to the airport if he'd like to return home early. All expenses covered, of course. I looked at my exhausted children and nodded. This vacation was over, but more importantly, so was my tolerance for Madison's behavior. No more excuses, no more looking the other way. She had finally crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. 3 months after the hotel incident, I sat in a courthouse, watching Madison face the judge. She'd lost her trademark confidence, her designer clothes replaced by a conservative suit that looked uncomfortable and foreign on her. Her social media empire had crumbled. It turned out brands weren't eager to work with influencers charged with child endangerment. Ms. Foster, the judge addressed her sternly. This court takes the endangerment of minors very seriously. Your actions demonstrated a profound lack of judgment and responsibility. Madison's lawyer had negotiated a plea deal, 18 months of probation, mandatory counseling, 200 hours of community service, and a child endangerment charge on her permanent record. She had avoided jail time, but her life would never be the same. Your Honor, Madison's voice quivered. I've lost everything, my followers, my sponsorships. I can't even get a regular job because of the background checks. The judge remained unmoved. Actions have consequences, Ms. Foster. You left 3 children alone in a hotel room while you partied with strangers. You gave those strangers access to a connecting door. Consider yourself fortunate that nothing worse happened. Robert sat behind Madison, his face a mask of barely contained rage. He hadn't spoken to me since that night, except through his lawyer. He tried everything, threats, guilt trips, even offering money, to get me to drop the charges. When nothing worked, he cut all contact, even with my children, who had once called him Grandpa. After the hearing, Madison approached me in the hallway. She looked different, smaller somehow, without her usual bravado. Olivia, please, can't we just move past this? I said I was sorry. Are you? I asked quietly. Sorry for what, exactly? For endangering my children? For lying to me? Or just sorry you got caught and lost your followers? She flinched. The kids are fine. Nothing actually happened to them. Thanks to Jake, I corrected her. Thanks to hotel security. No thanks to you. My 11-year-old son had to protect his sisters from drunk strangers trying to break into their room. Lucy still has nightmares. I didn't think. No, you didn't think. You never do. And for years we've all enabled that. But not anymore. Not when it comes to my children's safety. Tears welled in her eyes. What am I supposed to do now? My whole life is ruined. I shook my head. Your life isn't ruined, Madison. It's just different. Maybe now you'll learn what real responsibility means. As I walked away, Robert called after me. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed our family. I turned back one last time. No, Robert. You and Madison did that when you decided her social media career was more important than my children's safety. That evening at home, I found Jake helping Lucy with her homework while Emma practiced piano. The scene was so normal, so peaceful, exactly what that night at the hotel could have destroyed. Lucy looked up and smiled, the shadows finally fading from her eyes. Mom, Jake said, Grandpa Robert sent us friend requests on Instagram. Should we accept them? I sat down with my children, pulling Lucy into my lap. That's up to you. But remember, sometimes people who say their family don't act like it. Real family protects each other. Emma stopped playing, turning on the piano bench, like when Jake blocked the door. Exactly like that, I said, smiling at my son, who blushed but looked proud. I don't want to follow Grandpa, Lucy declared. He wasn't mad at Aunt Madison for leaving us. He was mad at you for protecting us. Out of the mouths of babes. I hugged her closer, amazed at how clearly children can see through adult nonsense. Later that night, after the kids were in bed, I found an email from Madison. Her counselor had suggested writing letters as part of her therapy. The message was long and rambling, but one part stood out. I never realized how selfish I was until I lost everything. Dad always fixed my mistakes, covered up my bad choices. That night at the hotel, I really thought it was no big deal. Just another mess Dad would clean up. But seeing Jake's face in court, hearing about Lucy's nightmares, I finally get it. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want you to know I understand now. I didn't respond. Maybe someday we'd rebuild some kind of relationship, but for now, the distance was healthy. My children needed to see that love doesn't mean tolerating dangerous behavior, that family bonds shouldn't override personal safety. A week later, I received an unexpected call from the hospital's HR department. Robert had tried to get me fired, claiming I was unstable and vindictive. My documentation of the hotel incident, the police reports, and the court records had shut that down quickly. His last attempt at retaliation had backfired spectacularly. My phone still buzzes occasionally with messages from flying monkeys, distant relatives, or family friends telling me I'm too harsh, that family should forgive family. I delete them without responding. The only forgiveness that matters is my children's peace of mind. Looking at them now, Jake reading his sister a story, Emma showing Lucy a new piano piece. I know I made the right choice. Sometimes protecting your children means standing firm, even when it costs you other relationships. Sometimes it means letting go of toxic family ties to preserve what really matters. Madison's social media accounts are mostly dormant now. Her last post was a vague apology about learning and growing. Meanwhile, my children are thriving, secure in the knowledge that their mother will always put their safety first. That's the only influencer status that matters to me. Maybe if you had raised him better, he'd deserve real presents. My mother's words cut through the festive Christmas morning air like ice. I watched my son, Marcus, just 12 years old, trying to hide his tears as he held the broken 5 pounds box. Inside there was nothing but an old phone card and some weights to make it feel real. My name is Deanna Sullivan, and at 35, I thought I had finally escaped my mother's toxic influence on my family. But watching her deliberately crush my son's Christmas dreams made me realize some battles aren't over until you end them completely. It's a life lesson. My mother continued, smoothing her expensive cashmere sweater while shooting a disapproving look at Marcus's Star Wars t-shirt. Gaming is for lazy children. I'm doing him a favor. The way Marcus's shoulders hunched made my heart ache. He had worked so hard this year, straight A's in school, joining the science club, even volunteering at the local animal shelter every weekend. He had been begging for a 5 pounds for months, saving his allowance and making deals to do extra chores. What he didn't know was that I had already bought him one, hidden away for the perfect moment. Come on, Diana, my mother pressed, her voice dripping with fake concern. You know I'm right. Look at how he dresses, those childish shirts, just like his father. The mention of Marcus's dad made my blood boil. Tom had passed away 3 years ago in a car accident, and Marcus's childish Star Wars shirts were the last birthday gift his father had given him. My mother had never approved of Tom, a kindergarten teacher who preferred reading comics with his son over chasing corporate success. He needs discipline, structure, she continued. Not toys and games. I raised you better than this. Better. I almost laughed. My childhood under her better parenting had been a nightmare of impossible expectations, constant criticism, and emotional manipulation. Every achievement met with "you could have done more." Every interest that didn't match her vision dismissed as worthless. Marcus, honey, I said, keeping my voice steady. Why don't you go up to your room for a bit? I need to talk to Grandma. He nodded, clutching the fake 5 pounds box to his chest as he climbed the stairs. The sight made something shift inside me. This wasn't just about a Christmas gift anymore. You've gone too far, I said, turning to face my mother. You deliberately hurt him, your own grandson. She waved her hand dismissively. Please, Diana, you're being dramatic. This is about building character. Besides, I bought him plenty of proper gifts. Look at that lovely calculator set, the educational software. He's 12, Mom. And he's a wonderful kid who deserves to enjoy his childhood. That's your problem, she snapped. You're too soft, just like Tom was. No wonder Marcus is turning out. Don't. My voice was quiet but firm. Don't you dare finish that sentence. She blinked, not used to being interrupted. Excuse me? You know what's interesting, Mom? I said, walking to the closet near our Christmas tree. While you were busy planning how to hurt a child on Christmas morning, I was teaching Marcus something really important about family and trust. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and played the video I had recorded last week. There was my mother, talking to her friend Susan on speakerphone while getting her nails done at her favorite salon. Of course I'm not getting him a real 5 pounds, her voice rang out clearly. I found an empty box online, going to teach that boy a lesson about proper goals and ambitions. Diana babies him too much. My mother's face went pale. You recorded me? That's private? I finished for her. Like Marcus's feelings should have been. Don't worry, Mom. I've got more interesting recordings. Like the one where you told your bridge club how you were planning to contest Tom's life insurance payout because you didn't think Marcus and I deserved it. She sank into her designer armchair, her perfectly made-up face crumpling slightly. You wouldn't dare show those to anyone. I'm your mother. You're right. I am your daughter, which means I've learned from the best about keeping records and planning ahead. I walked to the stairs and called up, Marcus, honey, could you come down? I have something to show you. I heard his quiet footsteps descending, saw his eyes still red from crying. My mother started to say something, but I held up my hand. Watch, I said simply. Marcus came downstairs slowly, still holding that cruel fake 5 pounds box. My mother shifted in her chair, probably preparing another lecture about character building. But before she could speak, I led Marcus to our garage. "Close your eyes," I said softly. He did, though I could see the hesitation on his face. After this morning's disappointment, he was probably afraid to hope for anything good. I opened our garage storage cabinet, the one with the special lock that only I had the key to. Inside sat what I had been preparing for weeks. Not just a real £5, but an entire gaming setup. A comfortable gaming chair, a new monitor, and a collection of games I knew he'd love. But more importantly, there was something else. Something that would make my mother understand exactly what she had tried to destroy. "Open your eyes, sweetheart." The way his face lit up made every secret late-night setup session worth it. But it wasn't just the gaming system that caught his attention. Next to the £5 was a framed photo of Tom, Marcus's dad, playing video games with him when he was little. Below it sat Tom's old gaming collection, carefully preserved. "Dad's games," Marcus whispered, touching the frame gently. "Yes," I said, watching my mother's expression shift from smugness to confusion in the doorway. "Remember how Dad used to say gaming wasn't just about playing? It was about storytelling, problem-solving, and bringing people together." Marcus nodded, his eyes shining. I pulled out an envelope and handed it to him. "Your father wrote this letter before he passed away. I was saving it for the right moment." My mother stepped forward, her designer heels clicking on the garage floor. "Diana, this is ridiculous. You're undermining everything Everything you what, Mom? Everything you tried to destroy this morning." I kept my voice calm as Marcus read his father's letter. "Dear Marcus, remember that weekend we spent playing through the old Final Fantasy games? You were only 9, but you understood something many adults don't. That stories and games can teach us about life, about perseverance, about facing challenges. Your mom tells me you've been asking for a £5. Keep working hard, buddy. And remember, gaming isn't just about having fun, though that's important too. It's about learning to strategize, to solve puzzles, to work through frustration. Most importantly, it's about sharing joy with the people you love. I love you, son. Never let anyone make you feel bad about the things that bring you happiness. Love, Dad." Your father and I had been saving for your £5 before he passed, I told Marcus, watching him clutch the letter. He wanted you to have it when you were ready, and you've more than proven that you are. My mother's face had turned an interesting shade of red. "You're making this up. Tom was a kindergarten teacher. He couldn't have." "Actually, Mom," I cut in, pulling out another envelope. "Tom left specific instructions. You see, while you were busy judging him for being just a teacher, he was investing wisely. Small amounts, carefully chosen stocks. He wanted to make sure Marcus would have everything he needed." I handed Marcus another envelope. Inside was a bank statement showing the dedicated savings account Tom had set up, not just for the £5, but for Marcus's future gaming and tech interests. "Your dad believed in you," I said softly. "He knew you'd grow up to be responsible, kind, and hardworking. Just like you have." Marcus looked at the setup, then at his grandmother, then back at me. Can I try it?" "Of course, honey, it's yours. All of it." As Marcus settled into the gaming chair, carefully setting up his new system, I turned to my mother. Her perfectly maintained facade had cracked, revealing the confusion and anger beneath. "You had no right," she hissed, "teaching him these wasteful habits." I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Actually, Mom, I have every right. And there's something else you should know." I pulled out my phone again, showing her another video, this one from my home security camera, capturing her switching the real £5 box she had seen in my living room last week with her cruel fake version. That's breaking and entering, Mom, and theft, and child abuse, deliberately causing emotional distress to a minor. Would you like me to continue? She staggered back, her hand flying to her throat. "You wouldn't dare. I'm family. Family doesn't do what you did this morning. Family doesn't try to crush a child's spirit. And family certainly doesn't break into someone's home to replace a real gift with a fake one just to teach a lesson." The sound of happy gaming music filled the garage as Marcus explored his new system. My mother's face twisted into something ugly. "You've ruined him," she spat. "Just like Tom ruined you. I tried so hard to make you understand what really matters in life." "No, Mom," I interrupted. "You tried to make us understand what matters to you. But here's the thing, your values aren't universal truths. And after today, you won't be pushing them on Marcus anymore." The look in my mother's eyes shifted from anger to something else. Fear. For the first time, she realized she had lost control, not just of the situation, but of her carefully maintained power over our family. "What exactly are you saying?" she asked, her voice tight. I walked over to Marcus, who was happily exploring his new 5 pounds, and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "I'm saying it's time for you to leave, Mom. Not just today, but from our lives." "You can't be serious," she scoffed, but her perfectly manicured hands were trembling. "I'm his grandmother. You can't keep me from." "Actually, I can. Breaking and entering, theft, emotional abuse, I have it all documented. One call to my lawyer, and you'll be facing charges that would shock your precious country club friends." Marcus paused his game, looking up at me with concern. I squeezed his shoulder reassuringly. "It's okay, honey. Sometimes standing up to bullies means standing up to family." "This is absurd," my mother sputtered. "Everything I've done has been for this family. I've only ever wanted control," I finished for her. "You've only ever wanted control. Over me, over Marcus, over how we live our lives. But that ends today." I pulled out one final envelope from my pocket. "This is a restraining order, already prepared. I was hoping I wouldn't need it, that you'd finally see Marcus for the wonderful kid he is. But after this morning's stunt—" My mother snatched the envelope, her hands shaking as she read the contents. "You planned this," she accused. "You set me up." "No, Mom, you set yourself up. I just made sure I was ready when you showed your true colors." Marcus stood up, still clutching his father's letter. "Grandma," he said quietly, "why do you hate me playing games so much?" For a moment, something flickered across my mother's face. Regret, perhaps, or recognition of what she was losing. But it quickly hardened into her usual mask of superiority. "Games are for children who'll never amount to anything," she snapped. "Just like your father." Marcus didn't flinch. Instead, he picked up the fake 5 pounds box she'd given him and held it out to her. "Then you should have this back. Dad taught me that gifts should come from love, not spite." I watched my mother's face crumple at being schooled in grace by a 12-year-old. Without another word, she turned and stormed out of the garage, her heels clicking angrily on the concrete. The sound of her car starting and driving away felt like the closing of a chapter. I turned to Marcus, who was looking thoughtfully at his father's letter. "You okay, buddy?" He nodded slowly. "Mom, did Dad really save up for this?" "He did." I smiled, sitting down in the second gaming chair I'd set up next to his. "And you know what else? He left me his old gaming passwords. Want to see your dad's max-level characters?" Marcus's eyes lit up. "Really? Can we play together?" "Of course. That's what gaming is all about, remember? Bringing people together." As we settled in to play, I heard my phone buzz with angry text messages from my mother. I silenced it without looking. She had lost the right to demand our attention or shape our lives. Later that evening, as Marcus was getting ready for bed, he paused in the doorway. "Mom, thanks for standing up to Grandma, and thanks for understanding about the gaming." I hugged him tight, breathing in the scent of this Star Wars shampoo. "Your dad would be so proud of who you're becoming. And not because of grades or achievements, but because of your heart." That night, I finally deleted all the evidence I gathered against my mother. I wouldn't need it anymore. We were free to play games, free to wear Star Wars shirts, free to be ourselves without apology. As I passed Marcus's room, I heard the soft sounds of his new 5 pounds and smiled. Tom had been right. Sometimes the most important lessons in life come through play, through joy, through being true to yourself despite what others demand. My mother still sends occasional messages through flying monkeys, family friends who try to guilt me into reconciliation. But I stand firm. Some people don't deserve second chances to hurt the ones we love. Marcus is thriving now, balancing his gaming with school, still volunteering at the animal shelter, and even starting a gaming club for other kids. Every time I see him light up while sharing his passion with others, I think of Tom and know we made the right choice. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about living well, protecting joy, and teaching our children that they deserve to be loved exactly as they are. The broken 5 pounds box sits in our garage now, a reminder that the most valuable gifts aren't the ones wrapped in pretty paper, but the ones that come with the courage to stand up for what's right, even against family.